what type of data do we collect? So in the positivist paradigm, this generally is going to line up with quantitative data because we're finding that one true. Okay, so quantities, how many, how much, statistics, scores, variables. That's what we think when we think positivist / quantitative data. Okay, most of the time the data is collected through survey, instruments, scales, measurements. Okay, interpretive data. So whereas, remember in the positivist paradigm, the researcher is supposed to be neutral and value-free, and they think that collecting this type of data is also neutral and value-free. The interpretive paradigm says that the researcher is actually the primary data collection and analysis instrument. Okay, so in the positivist paradigm, we have statistical analysis that we rely very heavily on to tell us what the right answer is. In an interpretive paradigm, the researcher interprets, right, the data and tells you what they think.
Yeah,
right?
I think what he meant to say is, like,
not quite that.
What I took from what he said.
What I took from what he said, yes. But I will also tell you what he said, in what context, after what question, what his facial expression was, what his body language was, and how I think this, what I think this means. Yeah. And then I ask him, is this what it means? And he tells me if I'm right or not. Yeah. And so when you think about data for the interpretive paradigm, all of it is, for the most part, I don't want to ever say all, it's going to be qualitative data. And it's going to be a lot of description, a lot of talking about the situation, a lot of description, stories, quotes, that kind of thing. And these can come from field notes. If I'm doing, for instance, like an ethnographic, I'm in school, I've got field notes, right, that I'm taking as I'm there. And it can come from observations, okay? What do I see, hear, smell, feel, okay, in that environment, all right? And then, of course, the critical paradigm can be some combination of all these different types of data, okay? Quantitative data, qualitative data can work in the critical paradigm. Okay. Questions, comments? Okay. Okay. So methods. We know what kind of data we're looking for. We know who we're getting that data from. The methods that we use in the positivist paradigm, we're almost always testing some hypothesis, right? Because we have determined beforehand what we think the relationships between the variables that we're measuring or studying might be. So that becomes our hypothesis. And then we use statistical tests to tell us whether we were right, our hypothesis is supported, or if we were wrong, our hypothesis is not supported. Okay. We might also be doing instrument validation, which happens a lot when people want to develop a way to measure different variables. Okay, they'll do research in different contexts with different types of people, different samples, different populations, to try to create an instrument, a set of questions that will rightly measure this particular variable or construct every time. Okay.
So it sounds to me that a lot of psychological research is positivist. A lot of it. Well, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a lot of interpretive because you got your case studies too. So
That's why I said a lot. I didn't say all.
I think a lot, what I know is psychological research, a lot of it is positivistic.
Because
you're trying to generalize.
It's gonna happen, and then, yeah, that's true.
You're trying to generalize so you can help as many people as possible, but it makes sense. I tend to see a lot of case studies in education, though.
I do too.
Yeah, case studies seem to be very important, which would be more of an interpretive paradigm. those seem to be, from what I know, more popular
It
in
depends on,
education.
yeah, that also depends on the area of psychology. Because if you're looking at more social psychology, then that's going to be more interpretive. But if you're looking at just like research, like how does adrenaline affect the heart or something like that, that's going to be very.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. We were just talking about psychological research right before we came to this class, and they are very heavy on statistics. I'll say that, but it makes sense because you're in a field where your goal is really to help as many people as you can. So you're trying to generalize. Interpretive paradigm, you'll usually see methods like interviews, observations, or analysis of different texts, whether that be from the field notes or from the Constitution. It doesn't matter. Just analysis of text. And then in the critical paradigm, the methods could be a little different. Dialogue, okay, interactions among people within a context. They do a lot of field research. Again, that's consistent with their role as a participant observer. And historical analysis. Basically, this is how long this has been jacked up and it's not getting better, right? That would be the historical analysis method. Huh?
It's never gonna change.
No, we need to change it now because it's been happening for 248 years. Critical. Thoughts, methods, appreciative inquiry. Where would you put it?
What you say? I would put
She, Mahua mentioned appreciative inquiry as a method earlier, and I told her we would get to methods in a minute, in a little bit, and I asked her where would she put it, where she thinks, what paradigm.
Not positivist.
Right.
Would it be between interpretivist and critical?
Yep, that's where I would put it because appreciative inquiry is generally going to align with the interviews and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's where I would probably see it, interpretivist or critical.
It's also like how you interpret, like what do you really see as positive?
Absolutely. There's value there.
Exactly.
There's definitely value there. Yeah, I think that's good. Did you say that came from the consulting class, appreciative inquiry?
No, it's dialogic coding.
Okay.
You know, Mark and Wright, someone, they did a study in Indonesia. It was also mentioned in consulting, but first I read it.
Okay. I love that y'all remember stuff that you learned in other classes.
I like that.
Yeah, good. And you can make those connections. I love it.
I tried to teach my husband on that. I think he's very much positivist.
What is his profession?
He's a physician.
Yeah.
He's data-driven.
Yeah. Data-driven, and it's like the psychological research. They need to be able to explain and predict so they can help as many people.
Yeah, so there are certain things which are broken in his organization. So I always try to tell him, now that I have read that feminist approach, my words will be different. So I'll try to tell him to be critical and emancipation.
Yeah.
Just don't be critical. Have some emancipation part as well.
That's true. It's not just broken. How could we fix it?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think a lot of people could stand the not just focus on the fact that it's broken.
Yeah, what can you do to change it?
Yeah. My husband's going through that too. Like one particular person at work, I get at least one text a day about what this particular person said. He's like, girl. All right. How is it reported? There's differences in the way we report the research because the data is different, the analysis is different. So in the positivist paradigm, you're going to see lots of tables, graphs, and statistics. In an interpretive paradigm, now this gets me excited. You see what we call thick description. What does that sound like?
A lot of text.
a lot of text. We describing a whole lot about this situation. The reason we give thick description, though, to me, that's the value of interpretive research. Because in the thick description, we're basically saying, this is the context that we studied this in. Then you, as the reader, should have enough description to know if that research is applicable to your context, okay? Because remember, in the interpretive paradigm, we're not telling everybody that this is how it is for everyone. But we're going to give you enough description that you as the reader can say, oh, this sounds like my organization. Or this sounds like my family. I should read this. This might be good for us, right? Or, we're a much smaller organization than that. That probably won't work for us. Let me see what else is out there. You know? So the goal of the thick description, or the purpose of the thick description, is so that in interpretive research, you can determine as the reader whether or not it's going to be applicable to your situation or not, which I think is a great service. And to me, that's the value of it, right? Because I lean towards positivist. You got to tell me what I'm going to use this for. Who is this true for? Is basically what the thick description does. So there's a lot of text, prose, words, lots of words in interpretive reporting. And then in critical research, there's some combination of these things. I can use charts, graphs, statistics, thick description, text, or prose, and it's all good. Okay.